Hi, and welcome back to Flipped Learning with Spanish. In Lesson 2, we're going to be taking a look at the preterite, imperfect, and the preterite versus the imperfect. So, let's get started. The preterite tense, you all know that the preterite is a past tense. There's more than one past tense in Spanish. We'll get into the other stuff later. Just like with any other tense, except the future and the conditional, to conjugate the preterite tense, we start by dropping the AR, ER, or IR, and then adding the appropriate ending. Here are the appropriate endings. Make certain you copy these down and get the accents in the right spots. E, aste, o, amos, astes, aron, I, iste, io, imos, istes, ieron. Notice here that the accent is on the O, not the I. Cargarzar, you'll remember that in the yo form, the following changes take place. And again, this is the yo form only. If the verb ends in car, the C is going to change to a QU, and then you add your E. So, tocar, the yo form is toque. Again, the QU is only in the yo form. For GAR verbs, in the yo form only, the G changes to a GU. Okay? So pagar, the yo form is pague. And then for ZAR verbs, in the yo form, the Z is going to change to a C before the E. So almorce. Again, this is review. I to Y verbs. Okay, this affects only ER-IR verbs and not all ER-IR verbs, just certain ones. And when we say I to Y, what we're talking about is the L and the AOS forms. The L ending for an ER-IR verb would normally be IO, accent on the O. We're going to change the I in the IO ending to a Y in just the verbs we're discussing. Same thing with AOS. The AOS ending is IERON. So we're going to change that I in IERON to a Y. So it's YERON, yeron, okay? So those are going to be your endings really for the L and the AOS for just certain verbs. Now, the other big catch here is that these verbs that are going to be on the next page have accents on all forms except AOS. But, being Spanish, there's an exception to the exceptions. This does not apply to verbs ending in UIR. Let's take a look. Okay, so here are the common I to Y verbs. Oír, caer, leer, contribuir, huir, creer, and poseer. And you'll see, leí, perfectly normal. We drop the ER, we add an I with an accent. Leíste has the extra accent here, okay? That's why the I is red. Leyó, here's your I to Y. This would normally be IO, and instead it's YO. Leímos has an accent. Normally it would not. That's one of the extra accents. Vosotros leísteis, again with the extra accent, and here's our Y. Now, on the previous slide I mentioned, UIRs, such as contribuir and huir, don't do this. What I'm talking about is this accent right here. In UIR verbs, they are not going to have an accent right there, okay? The UIRs, these two, or anything else that falls into this category like distribuir, will not have the accents, but they will have the Ys. Try oír, it just might appear as a bonus on a homework quiz. Soul verbs, these are soul verbs. Do. Had to know the song was coming. Soul verbs are just stem changing verbs in the preterite tense. In the present tense, we call them boot verbs. In the preterite tense, we call them soul verbs. Why? Because the sole of a boot is the bottom. So in soul verbs, it's the bottom of the boot that's changing, which would be the L and the AOS forms. Now, a couple other big things you got to remember. Only IR verbs are soul verbs. AR verbs and ER verbs are not. There are only two possible stem changes. It's either going to be E to I or O to U. So if in the present tense it goes E to IE, in the preterite, E to I. In the present tense, dormir goes O to UE. In the preterite, just O to U. There's no E in the preterite. And again, only in the bottom two forms. Okay, the el eo usted and the ellos ellas ustedes. And here's my little, it's called a soul verb because it's the soul of the boot, yeah, blah, blah. Yeah, all clever. So here's some common soul verbs. These are not all the soul verbs that exist, just the common ones. Okay, pedir, E to I, in the present as well as the preterite. So down here, we've got the E changing to an I. All the other forms have an E. Dormir, O to U in the preterite. So here we have the O changing to a U. The O stays in the other forms. And again, you'll notice these are all IR verbs. Doesn't matter if they're reflexive IR verbs, as long as it's an IR verb. And a good rule of thumb is if it's an IR verb and it has an E or an O in it, chances are you've got a soul verb. And there are some examples that are done for you because, well, I forgot to erase them, so lucky you. Copy those down. Pause this if you need to. Ir and ser in the preterite are twins, okay? They've got the exact same forms. You just tell which verb is being used based on context. So ir and ser, both no accents. Wow, can't even highlight to save my life. Fui, fuiste, fue. Fuimos, fuisteis, fueron. Dar and ver, fraternal twins, okay? The forms are the same, again, no accents. The difference between the forms of dar and the forms of ver is the forms of dar all start with a D, and the forms of ver all start with a V. It's Spanish, it's not rocket science. That's why I can do it. Di, diste, dio, dimos, distes, dieron, and vi, viste, vio, vimos, vistes, vieron. And last but not least, the irregular preterite. Some of you may have learned these as QVC pep hats. I have a major issue with QVC pep hats. I will explain my problem with QVC pep hats later. What is important to remember is these verbs change the entire stem of the verb. Yeah, something like that. They have their own set of endings. Okay, there's one set of endings for all these irregular preterite verbs that you're going to see on the next slide. And there are absolutely no accents. So, what are these verbs? When I was taught them in school, I learned them as groups, and that's still the way I prefer to teach them. The U group are all stems that have U's in them, okay? The J group all have J's, the UV group has UV, and the I group has I's. The reason I don't like QVC pep hats, it does not include the J group, and it doesn't take into account all of the U, the UV, and the I group. The other problem with QVC pep hats is it tells you which ones to remember, but it doesn't actually tell you what they change to. So, if you prefer QVC pep hats, go with it. Whatever works and gets the job done. Myself, I prefer just learning them in groups because it tells me how they change, and it includes all of them, namely the J group. An extra note about the J group, please remember that the AOS ending for J's is a little different. It's just going to be ERON. We'll get to the endings on the next slide. And in the I group, remember that hacer, the L form only, is ISO with a Z, H-I-Z-O. My I and my Z kind of overlap there. I'm not sure why.
Attention, please. For the custodian, please call the operator. Again, custodian, please call the operator. Thank you.
That was a public service announcement brought to you by one of the main office secretaries, serving Shaker High School since I have no idea when. Moving on. Here are your irregular preterite endings. Again, no accents. The endings are a, iste, o, imos, istes, ieron. And again, in the J group, drop the I in ieron. It's just the J group, and it's just that one ending. You're not going to have the I. And again, no accents. None. There are some practice ones you can try. Conjugate them, look them up online. You never know when they're going to appear as a bonus. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, kick you in the shin, by way of a computer, I guess. We're not going to play that game because we're not in class and this is a video and the video cannot play games with you. So, that's the end of our Notes on the Preterite Tense. This has been a rapidly recorded video before homeroom at 7 o'clock on a Thursday morning. Please enjoy. Feel free to replay, and if you can do slow motion or slow voice over, or I have no idea, I'm just going to shut up because it's too early. Have a lovely day.